Buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches. Saludos desde Cuba. Bienvenido a la clase número 17 en este tu canal Learn Spanish Easy and Fast. Hoy aprenderemos a usar correctamente los verbos reflexivos, los pronombres reflexivos, los pronombres de objetos directos y los pronombres de objetos indirectos. Let's start. Comencemos. Okay, guys, let's begin. In this class, we're going to learn the reflexive verbs. Los verbos reflexivos en español. It's very important to say that if you didn't watch the last class, please go to it because there we learned how to conjugate the verbs in Spanish in the present tense, and this lesson is a continuation of that class. All right, so now let's focus on reflexive verbs. Reflexive verbs in Spanish are used when the subject of the sentence performs an action to or for him or her or itself. A reflexive verb infinitive is identified by its reflexive pronoun se. Examples: cortarse, bañarse, despertarse. It's very important to say that the reflexive verbs are not found in the dictionary. So if you look for a dictionary in Spanish and you look for these words just like this, cortarse, bañarse, despertarse, you won't find them in the dictionary because in the dictionary they are shown the verbs, the infinitives of the verbs, which are the three groups that we saw in the previous lesson. The first group with the ending ar, the second group with the ending er, so the ending in Spanish, and the last one, the ending ir in English. All right, so those are the three groups of infinitives of verbs that you are going to find in the dictionary. Anyway, these reflexive verb infinitives are also important because we use them a lot. For example, I can say es común cortarse cuando estamos cocinando. Es común cortarse cuando estamos cocinando. Or I can also say, bañarse todos los días es bueno. Bañarse todos los días es bueno. Or I can also say, despertarse temprano es bueno. Despertarse temprano es bueno. Okay? Now, guys, let's move on so you can see more clearly what I am talking about. These are some examples of reflexive verbs. And something that I didn't tell you, this ending se, okay, it's a reflexive pronoun, but we are going to get back to it later in this lesson. So these are some examples of reflexive verbs. And I say, yo corto el papel, I cut the paper. I don't have any reflexive verb here. But I say, yo me corto. So I cut myself, right? So in this case, I have a reflexive pronoun. Me is a reflexive pronoun. Yo me corto is like in English, I cut myself, okay? The action is not the same that I say, yo corto el papel, the first example, all right? Yo corto el papel. What do I cut? The paper. But in this case, in the second case, what do I cut? I cut me. I cut myself. That's why I put the reflexive pronoun me. Anyway, we're going back to that later, right? So, for example, I say, yo despierto a mis hijos, is in English, I wake my children up. Okay, because the action falls in my children. But if I say, yo me despierto a las 7 a.m., that is like in English, I wake up at 7 a.m. So, what do I wake up? Myself, all right? So, yo me despierto a las 7 a.m. I wake up at 7 a.m. I say, Yo visto a mis hijos, I dress my children, but I say yo me visto, I get dressed. Yo me visto. It's also important to say that in Spanish, reflexive pronouns and reflexive pronouns are more used than in English. In English, we don't use a lot the words myself, herself, himself, but in Spanish we use them a lot. Okay, we use reflexive pronouns a lot. So I say yo me visto, I get dressed. So I say yo baño a mis hijos, I bathe my children. Okay, but if I say yo me baño, it's like in English, I take a bath, all right? So yo me baño. Remember that I can omit, if I want, personal pronouns, or that's why I put in parentheses the personal pronouns, okay? So let's move on. Guys, like I told you before, we have reflexive pronouns. Reflexive verbs need reflexive pronouns. Without the reflexive pronouns, the verb won't make any sense at all. And these are the reflexive pronouns that I have for every personal pronoun. So for the personal pronoun yo, I have the reflexive pronoun me. For the personal pronoun tú, I have the reflexive pronoun te. For the personal pronoun usted, I have the reflexive pronoun se. For the personal pronoun él or ella, I have the reflexive pronoun se. For the personal pronoun nosotros or nosotras, I have the reflexive pronoun nos. For the reflexive pronoun ustedes, I have the reflexive pronoun se. And for the personal pronoun ellos or ellas, I have the reflexive pronoun se. We usually place reflexive pronouns before conjugated verbs. Some examples: yo me afeito, I shave. Tú te afeitas, you shave. Usted se afeita, you shave. Él or ella se afeita, he or she shaves. Nosotros nos afeitamos, we shave. Or nosotras nos afeitamos, we shave. Ustedes se afeitan, you shave. And ellos or ellas se afeitan, they shave. Here, before, like I told you before the verbs, okay, before the verbs, I place the reflexive pronoun. So if I say yo me afeito, I say, which personal pronoun do I have? Yo, okay? So, who is shaving? I am shaving. But am I shaving my children? Am I shaving my wife? Am I shaving my brother or my friend? No, I am shaving myself. So I say yo me afeito. Okay, I am not shaving anyone else. I am shaving myself. In English, it's not common to say a lot, like I told you before, myself. Just in some cases, but in Spanish, I use it a lot. If I am shaving myself, not somebody else, I say yo me afeito. Okay, and also, if you notice, I put the words with the red color in me, which is the reflexive pronoun, and afeito, the O, because remember that in the previous lesson, I say, what is the infinitive of this verb, afeito? So is the infinitive, the verb afeitar, right? If I want to know how to say to shave or shave in Spanish, I look for the dictionary and I look for the infinitive afeitar. So afeitar is shave in Spanish. So afeitar belongs to the first group, which is the ending AR. Remember that this is from the previous lesson. So if you haven't seen that lesson, my friends, go back to it. Go to the lesson 16, which is very good to explain this. And I say, well, what is the ending for the first personal pronoun yo with the infinitive afeitar with the ending AR, and it's the letter O. That's why I say yo me afeito, I shave, all right? The same with tú te afeitas, you shave, okay? Tú te afeitas. So I have the personal pronoun tú, so I have to use the reflexive pronoun te, okay? And the ending AS, because again belongs from the first group, AR, and I use the ending AS in this case. And the same with the others. I am not going to explain all of this so you can't get bored, but if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Anyway, remember, I put the reflexive pronoun before the verb, and then I conjugate the verb as we did in the previous lesson. So, usted se afeita, you shave. Él or ella se afeita, he or she shaves. Nosotros or nosotras nos afeitamos, so I can say nosotros nos afeitamos, or nosotras nos afeitamos, that would be we shave in English. Ustedes se afeitan, you shave. And finally, ellos se afeitan, they shave, or ellas se afeitan, they shave. Now, once we learned the reflexive verbs and the reflexive pronouns, I am going to introduce you another concept in the grammar in Spanish that is very similar, but at the same time it's different. Direct and indirect object pronouns. Spanish direct and indirect object pronouns are the translations for the object pronouns in English. For example, in English I say, I love you. I love you. What do I love? Why do I love? You. I love you. So the action falls in you, right? But in Spanish, I use a direct object pronoun. In English, we only have object pronouns. In Spanish, we have direct and indirect object pronouns. And these pronouns are the translation for the object pronouns in English. So, I love you is yo te amo. Okay, yo te amo. So, I place the direct, in this case, direct object pronoun before the verb that we saw with the reflexive pronouns. So, yo te amo. Remember that? I can omit the personal pronoun if I want to. It's very similar in Spanish to say te amo. Instead of yo te amo, a person says to each other, te amo. It's I love you, right? Okay, guys. Also, yo la amo, I love her. Or yo lo amo, I love him. Or yo leo el libro, I can replace el libro for the pronoun lo. Or I can say I read the book, or I say I read it, right? It's the same. In Spanish, yo leo el libro equals lo leo, and in English, I read the book. I can replace the book for the object pronoun it, okay? It's similar. The difference is the order of the sentence, but it's similar in English and in Spanish. And finally, yo siempre le doy un regalo en Navidad, in parentheses, because if I say yo siempre le doy un regalo en Navidad, it could be to a woman or it could be to a man. If I want to be very explicit that it's a woman, I say yo siempre le doy un regalo en Navidad a ella. Or if I want to be very clear, very specific that I am talking about him, I say yo siempre le doy un regalo en Navidad a él. Okay, so the translation that you see here, I always give him a present at Christmas, or I always give her a present at Christmas. Okay, guys, now we are going to see more with more detail. There you go. This is a table that I think describes very good what I am talking about. So I have the personal pronouns, yo, tú, usted, él, ella, nosotros, nosotras, ustedes, ellos, ellas. And I have the English object pronouns. I put the English object pronouns, so I think it's easy for you. I like to compare languages. I know some teachers don't like to do this, but I like it. Anyway, I think it's good to think in Spanish and all, but I think it's important first to know your own language and then to compare it with the other language, all right? So I have the English object pronouns, I have the Spanish direct object pronouns, and I have the Spanish direct object pronouns. So for the personal pronoun yo, I have the English object pronoun me, and I have the Spanish direct object pronoun me, and I have the Spanish indirect object pronoun me. So in this case, there is no difference, even with English, right? So I say, for example, yo siempre me compro un regalo en Navidad. I always buy me a present at Christmas. Yo siempre me compro un regalo en Navidad. So guys, it's important in Spanish to know when I have to use an indirect object pronoun and when do I have to use a direct object pronoun. In this case, yo siempre me compro un regalo en Navidad. I have to ask myself, what do I always buy at Christmas? Un regalo, right? A gift, present, un regalo. So, un regalo is a direct object in Spanish. So, if I wanted to replace un regalo for a direct object pronoun, I have to say un regalo for which personal pronoun do I have to replace it? And I have to replace it for the personal pronoun el. Why the personal pronoun el? Because in Spanish we don't have it. Right? So, un regalo, it's a thing, right? An object. So, it would be, in English, it would be it, but in Spanish we don't have it, we have el. Okay? So I say, yo siempre me compro un regalo en Navidad, I can replace it by or with lo. Okay? I place myself in this row and I choose lo. Why lo? Because regalo is masculine. So I use the direct object pronoun lo. If it would be, for example, yo siempre me compro una flor en Navidad, una flor is feminine, so I will choose the direct object pronoun la. So it would be, instead of yo siempre me lo compro en Navidad, I would say yo siempre me la compro en Navidad. Okay? And in this case, to whom is the present? Well, the present is to me, right? So I am talking about myself. The present is for me. So I put myself in this row. Yo, because the present is for me, to me. So if I had to replace yo for an indirect object pronoun, I would choose me. And again, it's an indirect object pronoun because I am not buying myself. I don't buy myself at Christmas. I buy a present. So a present is the direct object and yo, okay, me, is the indirect object. So, yo siempre me compro un regalo en Navidad or yo siempre me lo compro. Or I can say, yo siempre te compro un regalo en Navidad. Yo siempre te compro un regalo en Navidad. To whom is the present? To you. So in this case, I put myself in this row and I choose to. But I can't put to in the predicate of the sentence. So I say, yo siempre te compro un regalo en Navidad. To whom is the present? To you. So, yo siempre te compro un regalo en Navidad. Or I can say, yo siempre te lo compro en Navidad. Why? Because I can replace un regalo with the direct object pronoun lo, like we saw in the previous example. It's the same. Or I can say, yo siempre le compro un regalo en Navidad. Or if I want to be very specific, yo siempre le compro a usted un regalo en Navidad. Okay? So in this case, yo siempre le compro. To whom is the present? To you, right? But in a formal way. So I choose usted because I am talking in a formal way, and I choose le, okay, the indirect object pronoun le because I am talking about you but in a formal way. So, yo siempre le compro a usted un regalo en Navidad, or yo siempre le compro un regalo en Navidad. In this case, if I wanted to replace un regalo, again, I say, which personal pronoun would I choose? El, okay? And it would be lo, again. But What is the problem here? That if I use in the same sentence, a direct object pronoun and an indirect object pronoun, then I have to change le for se. So I would say, yo siempre se lo compro. So I maintain the direct object pronoun, but I change the indirect object pronoun because unfortunately I can't say in Spanish, yo siempre le lo compro. No, I'm sorry, but it can be like that. So, yo siempre se lo compro en Navidad. Okay? But if I don't use if I don't use the direct object pronoun, so I say yo siempre le compro un regalo en Navidad. It's a little tricky, but you have to get used to it. Sorry for that, but once you get to it, it's easy. Okay? Once you get used to it, it's easy. And this works for usted, él, and ella, because for the three personal pronouns, I have the same direct object pronouns and the same indirect object pronouns. Okay, so the rule is the same. I can say, yo siempre le compro a ella un regalo en Navidad, or yo siempre le compro a él un regalo en Navidad, or yo siempre le compro un regalo en Navidad, or yo siempre se lo compro. Okay, the rule is the same. Or I can say, yo siempre nos compro un regalo en Navidad. In this case, to whom is the present? For us. For us. So I put myself in this row. So I have nosotros or nosotras, and I have us in English. So I choose the indirect object pronoun nos. As simple as that, okay? So, yo siempre nos compro un regalo en Navidad. I always buy us a present at Christmas. Again, if I wanted to replace un regalo, I would choose the direct object pronoun lo. It would be, yo siempre nos lo compro, okay? Or, I can say, yo siempre les compro un regalo en Navidad. Or if I want to be very specific, yo siempre les compro a ustedes un regalo en Navidad. In this case, it's similar to usted, él, and ella. In this case, ustedes, ellos, and ellas, they share, these personal pronouns share the same the same direct object pronouns and the same indirect object pronouns. So I say, yo siempre les compro a ustedes un regalo en Navidad, or yo siempre se los compro. Here it happens the same. I have to change les for se. So yo siempre se los compro. Okay? Or yo siempre les compro a ellos un regalo en Navidad, or yo siempre les compro a ellas un regalo en Navidad, or yo siempre se los compro. Okay? It happens the same. Amigo o amiga que me estás viendo y escuchando, déjame en los comentarios algunas oraciones en las cuales uses pronombres reflexivos y verbos reflexivos, y otras oraciones en las cuales uses objetos directos y objetos indirectos. Muchas gracias. Leave me in the comments some sentences in which you use reflexive pronouns and reflexive verbs, and other sentences in which you use direct and indirect object pronouns. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Amigos, es todo por hoy. Como siempre, quiero agradecerte por haber visto el video hasta el final. Si te gustó, regálame un me gusta, suscríbete si aún no lo has hecho y no te olvides de darle a la campanita. If you liked the video, please subscribe, give me a like, and don't forget to hit the bell button. Remember, this channel is new, and with your help, we can make it grow together. Muchas gracias. Nos vemos en la clase número 18. Adiós.